You
Really?
had a successful startup in edtech, and then you decided to exit it and go around the world. What did motivate you?
I had this feeling that I want to diversify.
We need to diversify our career. What is that?
Portfolio career is like basically having different identities and developing them.
What can we do in simple terms to prepare ourselves for the future?
I don't know, like
Financially, experts, how could they monetize their knowledge?
productizing yourself.
What's the future with this AI? Is it gonna take our jobs and we're gonna lose our human connection? Hi guys, welcome to my new episode, Brands Through Stories. Do you know, I think some of you might agree with me that we wake up almost every day to a new world. It has been changing so rapidly, and sometimes, to be honest, I'm afraid to read the news or turn the TV on because I don't know what's next. What else is going to happen? And every day we're being bombarded with these messages. Technology, AI is going to steal our jobs. And then in the same day we hear, no, AI is not going to steal our jobs. All you need is to be a creative thinker, active listener, diversify your portfolio, diversify your career, diversify your income, be an empathetic leader. Oh my God, how difficult, how to navigate in this new reality. When I start thinking about it, I get stressed. What can we do in simple terms to prepare ourselves for the future? And that's today what I want to discuss with my guest, who is, I think, the best person out of my whole network who can help us to prepare for the future. Please welcome my guest, Aygerim Hafizova. She is an edtech founder and consultant. She's an expert in e-learning and AI integration. She is a business trainer and a really nice person. Thank you so much, Ay, for joining me today.
Nina, thank you so much for the invite. I'm so excited to be here today.
And Dubai is not your home yet.
Not yet.
I so appreciate that you find a couple of hours to meet with me.
Sure, but I'm really falling in love with the city.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Welcome. It's changing every day, like our
Changing.
world, in a positive way,
In
though.
a positive, yeah.
So, do you agree with me that we live in a little bit of a hectic world?
Yeah, and I think it's been happening for so many different reasons, right? It's like the macro trends that are happening, right? Like we're facing climate change, and then the situation in the world, right? Like instability, etc., and then the technology. So all of that, I think, ends up to this uncertainty that all of us are facing every day, and it gives us this sense of FOMO, the sense that we're missing out, or the sense that we need to change something. So I think in the past years, I've been meeting so many professionals in different fields, like corporates, business, entrepreneurs, creatives, but all of them are having this sense that we need to be prepared or something is changing. And I just came from Doha attending Web Summit.
Yeah. How is that? How was it?
It was fantastic. But to be honest, yeah, that was what everybody was talking about, like how AI is changing, right? What we need to learn, what we're going to do. So I think we're living in a really unprecedented times in our history.
Full of excitement. Let's look at it optimistically.
I'm very optimistic. We just need to adapt.
We just need to that. I want to start with our whole conversation with your story. Because I think you have a very interesting story. I think you're a very brave person. I could never do what you've done. You
Really?
had your startup, a successful startup in edtech, and then you decided to exit it and go around the world. Latin America, Europe, Asia, Southeast Asia, and now Middle East. What did motivate you? How could you do this? I'm going to travel.
Sure. Let me give you some background. So I've been in the field of education for more than 12 years and edtech, specifically e-learning, blended learning from 2015. So I started my journey being a Fulbright scholar in the Silicon Valley. And then just since then, I've been like working in South Asia, in different parts of the world. And then I started my startup, and it was in e-learning at Gravity. I think we created
Yeah.
amazing projects, worked with corporates, as well as created our in-house programs. And we were in the empowerment, and we're helping people to be ready actually for the new digital world. So at that moment, and I think you understand, and I know a lot of listeners of your podcast are founders and entrepreneurs. At certain point you hit a point where you're like you want the next, something to grow. So I had this feeling in 2020 that the world is changing even
Have you
more.
felt that?
I felt it even more.
Yeah, even
And
more. Yeah.
that even what we were doing in the e-learning, even though the e-learning itself was quite, remember when I started in 15, people were telling me nobody's going to learn online. Nina,
Yes.
even the most progressive people
Yeah.
were saying nobody going to buy a course online. And for me, I kind of believed in this idea back then. So I did it. And then we saw then the pandemic hit, and then everybody was just switching to digital space, right? Like the universities, the schools, not the most innovative entities were moving to the digital space. So I felt that something was changing, and then the new technologies were coming in, and I had this feeling that I need some new skills for myself. Like I needed to, I had this feeling that I want to diversify. So I was thinking, I want to diversify like linguistically, like I want to learn new languages. I want to be able to work in different geographies, like in LATAM, being able to do business in Middle East or like Southeast Asia. So I thought I wanted some...
You felt that as a founder
I felt
while
it.
you were running your business.
Nina, yes. So I had this feeling I was stuck, not in a bad way, but like that I needed some growth, and I wanted some new mentors. I wanted to meet people from different parts of the world and see how they're living. And I think it's also because like during the pandemic, we were all stuck, right, in our cities and our homes. And I think the world post-pandemic, it was like, whoa, what's happening over there?
Yeah, I think it's still
Something.
like that.
It
just
is still like
somehow
that.
doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had this urge that I want to see the world, and I want to explore new business opportunities and see what's next, and how to live and navigate in this new world. So this is how I actually bought my ticket to Argentina and landed in Buenos Aires in 2020.
And you exited your
Yeah.
educational. Yeah.
So Gravity is still there, and
Yeah.
the team is working, and
Yeah.
we're still launching the programs. But for me now, and I'll tell you later, like what I'm working right now. But
Yeah.
it was a new stage in my life.
I cannot imagine doing that myself because I have this kind of my work is I am who it's very sad. I'm a mother and wife. That's important for me and a good daughter. But I have this kind of thing. If I stop working and developing my business, who am I then? The identity, professional identity. And to stop and travel, which I'm, learn new things, I just cannot imagine. Was it hard for you?
Yeah. So in my case, I couldn't just travel. I had to work in parallel, So I was launching and kind of, like MVPing, like we call in business, like especially in tech, you create minimum viable products, you test, and then see how it goes. So I was actually investing in different types of projects back then. It's difficult. It's difficult because for me, it was important to be able to learn how to adapt. Like I remember I arrived to Buenos Aires. It was winter, like in Buenos Aires. I was not ready. I was like, I just arrived. I'm like, wow, it's very cold. And I'm laying in my bed and thinking, wow, what I've done. Like I'm so far away. I had such an amazing life back home. And but I had this intention that I want to learn how to adapt and be resilient. So I think that was the quality I wanted the most. And I mean, as entrepreneurs, we're all super resilient, right? We're super resilient.
We have to be. There's
We
no
have
other
to
way.
be. There is no other
Yeah.
way. But for me, it was also being able to adapt to completely new cultures. And you know, like Nina, for me, if back then I traveled, like actually I've been living abroad in US, in other parts of it for many years. So it was not my first experience, but being able to adapt very quickly. So I remember in Argentina, maybe it took me 1 month to adapt, you know, like get used to and feel comfortable, find friends to work and be productive.
When do you feel, sorry to, when do you
Sure.
feel that, okay, fine, I'm adapted now? When is that? What is the sign of?
The sign, I think it's, of course, we all, I mean, we do feel the anxiety as human beings, right? This is how our, mental, how to say, we need to be, take care of our mental
Yeah.
health, right? And all of that. But I think for me, it was this sense that I feel comfortable, like I can have the routine. First of all, that was very important. I can be very productive. I can work and be able to focus on what I'm working on, first of all. Secondly, people. So being able to, of course, it's impossible to create meaningful connections in like 1 week, but being able to still connect with people on a deeper level and have some circles you feel you feel that these people are your tribe. So I think for
Right.
me, this
That's the
feeling
sign.
is, yeah, I think, okay, I can adapt. I'm adapted, you know,
Yeah,
to the
so
culture.
from
Yeah,
your trip
sure.
around the world, did you get your resilience and adaptability? What did you learn at the end? What did you learn that changed also your way of looking at education, for example, and edtech?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest learning was that it's in this new world, we need to be able to reinvent ourselves and reinvent on different levels, but also that we are very multi-dimensional as humans. And I think now we see it, right? Like today we discussed that with AI you can now I can do so many things that I was not be able to do like
Yeah.
in the past. So which allows to realize kind of different parts of your professional identity. Yeah. So I think for me that was one of the interesting things, is being able to see, oh wow, I can do this, or like, oh, we can. I launched a project in Singapore like during my travels, right, or in Europe. So we collaborated and launched an education product. So I think for me it was this understanding that I can actually collaborate. So for that you need people, right? So I can collaborate with so many different people, but also that I can create different projects very fast and test them out right away, not waiting for like years or like months, you know, to do something, but okay, let's do it, you know, let's try it out. So I think for me that was one of the learning, is to do it quickly. And I think this is what this world is about, right? Like to do something quickly, you know, learn. There is new technology coming in, and then you not waiting for like 1 year to
Yeah. Yeah.
but try it out and then learn about it and then try to adapt it into your business and life.
You've mentioned collaboration. Did you feel that people from around the world were wanted to did they want to collaborate with you, or were you? I understand places like Singapore is very open-minded. It's, you know, but if you go a little bit where it's less foreigners and more, are they all happy to collaborate? And
I think there are two things, like in terms of human connections, what I felt is that people are super open right now, like especially where I was, because I was in the communities of digital entrepreneurs and nomads, so basically people working in tech and creatives. So we're kind of like-minded, so it was easy to connect, and now we can like explore how we can collaborate in the future. But with those with who I created some business projects, these are the ones I've known for many years, actually.
right,
So
okay,
yeah, I
okay.
think it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, let's create a business.
And then everyone, yes.
It was people I've known for many years. We built trust, and when I was there, we were able to do something together.
Interesting. So I like that you've mentioned that human connection, resilience, adaptability, and people at the end of the day, and our willingness to share and so on. What's the future with this AI? Let's get to that. What is it gonna take our jobs and we're gonna lose our human connection?
I don't know. Like,
I know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's, to be honest, like I read a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
futurologists and prominent thinkers, who are building this technology, and all of them, they really don't know what's
What's next?
what's next. And but I think we need to definitely start preparing now. And if we talk about like what we need to, first of all, yes, like and Ellie K. Miller, I really like how she writes. She talks about that all the jobs will be AI enabled in the future, right? Like product manager, AI enabled product manager, marketer, AI enabled marketer. So basically now thinking how we can adapt it to our current, not necessarily changing everything, but adapting it, enhancing what we have and we know. Like I'm in education, so I'm thinking how I can adapt it to education field, right? So starting with that, I think is a great step. Secondly, it's I think in this new world, I don't know what you think, but having the tech skill, I think, is important. Like for me, when I was working on different projects this time, sometimes I needed to like retrain and learn data science. So I was actually going and learning that very fast. So I think being able to be curious and learning fast is very important. So constantly learning, I think that will help us definitely. Thirdly, diversifying. So diversifying skill sets, and in terms of connections, I mean, this is for me, this is the most important. So having diversified connections. What we usually have is that
Yeah.
we are in
Our own.
we try to hang
Yeah.
out with like-minded people, like from our culture, from our region, from like business world, if you're a business person or corporate. But what the world shows us is to be resilient and to be adaptable. We need to have very broad set of connections and circles, like weak ties, as sociologists call it. This will what make us actually resilient, because we don't know what will happen. Nah?
So what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is AI, no one knows.
Yeah.
But what you could do is there's certain skills in the future that you can actually start experiment or learning that will help you to be prepared. I've read, I think from your article, that 44% of the skills, worker skills we have, according to the World Economic Forum, in the next 5 years will be disrupted or will be outdated. That's quite
Yeah, it sounds
scary. Yeah?
Mm.
So let's just summarize. You've mentioned you touched on them. Three skills. I want to simplify 3 skills that tomorrow I wake up that I should at least start looking into.
So if we look at the studies, right, that shows us, I would say first is ability to learn. So this is more like metacognitive skill. It's being able to learn anything, right? Like, and it's a skill. We train that.
How can you straight away want to ask? Can I learn?
Yeah, I think it's just to start. I really recommend Professor Barbara Oakley's course, Learning How to Learn. It's like available on Coursera. It's one of the top courses online, and it gives just some basic things explaining how our brain works, right? That there is 2 modes of our brain and how to maximize your brain potential. I think that's what would. But knowing how our body works, like brain works, will give us this leverage to know that, even if the world is changing, I can learn that. Let me give some time, like I will learn it. And it's, secondly, I think it's working with your mindset. So, and it's related to this ability to learn. And Angela Duckworth, she's a professor. I really love her book. And it's called Mindset. She talks about growth mindset. And it's also related, this thinking and knowing that you can learn, that you can improve, and you can. It's not like, oh, I failed, right? Oh, I'm bad in data science or whatever. But you know that just give me some time, I will get to that. So this ability
That's
to,
really
yeah,
nice.
you
Yeah.
can improve. And
Yeah.
then you don't have to, like, some people compare themselves and then they feel bad, like, oh, I don't have this potential. But you can learn anything. This is how our brain works. And this is the biology of like our body, because if we don't use it, it will get, how to say, because it's trying to preserve the energy. It will like so the more we use it, the better it functions. So the third, if we're talking about the third, I think is being able to, and you talked about like the empathy, it's being able to build like relationships with people. I think this is what I've noticed in my travels, is that many people usually think what they can take from from others, like even in the business world. But now what we see is those who are resilient are those who are able to build trustworthy human connections with others. I mean, these are just what I think are important, but
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I think it's, you made me think now. I went on this journey. I need to know everything about AI. As everyone's saying, branding industry is going through revolution also. And so I give my team to study all the possible technology that exists in marketing and branding and design field. I wish I've never seen that Excel, because all I
Is it too
had after
much?
that were nightmares.
It was too much.
I felt straight away old, uneducated woman without future. And then,
I mean,
and then I said to myself, it's okay. We'll handle that. And I think you're right. That's what
that is a growth
that's like,
mindset.
okay, is that?
Yeah.
Or it's just, okay, fine. You have to be a way out of it. Yeah, I said, well, step by step. Step by step. Otherwise, it's just really scary.
Yeah. And can I add something, Nina, like
Yes.
to that point? I think it's very important. Like now there are two main things, right? Like OECD published the Skills Outlook report. And there are two main things now that are influencing everything. It's like two forces: digitalization, right? And secondly is like the climate change and the green transition. So I think also keeping in mind where we are, like in terms of what is the future of like I was looking at the map and was checking what is the water situation in the world, like where will be the lack of water, or what is the how the climate change is going to impact like the biodiversity, and then the forests and everything. So just looking at it like as a whole will also give us some clues how we can be prepared, what we need to do, right? Because I think it will help us to start preparing now. So basically,
There's two things. So
Yeah.
there's,
and even if you look at the organizations right now, like World Bank or ADB or other international development organizations, all of them are putting the climate agenda as their priority. So then if I look, because I track a lot like the job market and what are the vacancies are there, and to be honest, a lot of opportunities are in terms of like sustainability and climate change. Even in my field, Nina, like recently I had one of the interviews, and it was around my whether I'm be able to be a climate education specialist.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are
And
you
I realized,
are you
yes,
exploring that?
I'm learning and trying to see how I can contribute and help, to this, to tackle climate change.
I love it. So, okay, so the first step to prepare yourself is look at your skills, and three skills that we've sort of identified: the learning, mindset, right? And then human connection, communication, empathy, give rather than just take straight away, right? And number two is be aware of what's happening in the world,
course.
right? And not just political and economical that our news is filled with, but what's happening with sustainability, the war, the climate change, and so on. Very nice. So it's yourself is the world.
Oh yeah,
if
and
I were to simplify it.
yeah, I love how you're summarizing it. And just to give an idea, I really love the Reid Hoffman's framework. He's a co-founder of LinkedIn. So he uses three circles, right? One, and what you just mentioned, assets. What are your assets? Your people assets, your skill sets, etc., etc. It's one circle. The other circle is your values, actually, and aspirations.
Oh,
It's
that's
what you
very
love.
interesting. My
Yeah.
favorite.
Your favorite, exactly. What are your values? What are your aspirations, right? What are you dreaming? What makes you happy, etc. And then the third circle is market realities. So market realities is the third, and then they all connect. Market realities is what's happening in the world. And when we combine the three, we can, as professionals, be in a competitive. We can have this competitive advantage on the job market.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's talk about skills, worlds, us with our values. Now, you've mentioned something called portfolio career or we need to diversify our career. What is that? I mean, for me, it's a different story. From day one, my parents said, Nina, you're going to be a director, because there was no
Wow.
word entrepreneur in the
I
communism,
love
right?
it.
We,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
weren't entrepreneurs in communism and social state. We were directors or workers. So it was directed. And that's it. That was my career. I just then navigate through that and went to business school and opened my own businesses. And I think I'll continue with I think so, with that, in that career. What is really diversify your career? Or in my case,
Sure. Nina, I actually think you're building a portfolio career, to be honest.
is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Uh-huh.
mean, this is it's not the term that I created. I mean, it's a lot of people talking about it. Reid Hoffman, as well as it's derived from this concept of different working identities. And Erminia Ibarra, I really love how she writes about it. She's a researcher in London School of Business, and she writes about this topic of working identities. So
Working identities.
working identity. So basically, it's that we have many different we are actually like psychologists also say that.
We're many people in one.
Exactly, but also professionally.
Professionally,
And
yes.
it's Reid Hoffman says that the portfolio career is not you're not ready maybe from day one, right? Like you just entered the job market, you need to be very focused, right, in one field and just dig deeper into that. But after 30, especially for 30, 35 and up, like for professionals, when they get the skill set and then they have the network and they have this whole arsenal of assets, right? So what you can start doing is you can start diversifying. So for instance, what is a portfolio career is like basically having different identities and developing them. So you can have one major, right? Like in my case, it's education. Like I'm an education specialist. Everything that I do, I work with corporates, with intentional development organizations. It's around education technology. That's my thing.
Okay, right, yeah.
What is the you've been in that for many years, right? In your case, it's marketing and branding.
Yeah, it's branding, entrepreneurship, that vision mapping, this sort of, yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. So this is one part of your, say, working identities, like entrepreneurship, marketing in that sector. And then another thing, you are a podcaster. It's also,
An identity.
of course, and it's very important. You invest a lot of time. I know podcasting is not easy. It's a lot of time investment, right? So another thing, you do the training. You are a speaker, trainer, mentor, right? Investor.
Yes, you know more than I do about myself. Thank you so Yes, you're right. Yeah, yeah. For me, it came intuitively.
Exactly.
Right? It was. I wouldn't even say because I want to diversify my income. I wanted to do more things. I found my purpose, inspiring creation of meaningful businesses, and then I thought, what could I do in that sector?
Yeah.
And yes, SMA. Yeah,
It's more like it's intuitively.
yeah.
But I think it's also the time because since of course, again, AI, but it helps us to do things faster. So it allows to develop all of this like identity and ventures faster. So the reason I really like Greg Eisenberg, what he writes about this concept of multipreneurship.
Multipreneurship.
Yeah. So multipreneurship is basically, in this case, it's a entrepreneur who is launching multiple businesses. And what he says, Nina, he says, we can launch one MVP per month. So in his case, it's like, it's
Does
so
he have
fast.
55 hours a day?
And
It's
it's interesting to look like he has a very active LinkedIn. Like he's a content creator, like you know, he's investing into that, but also he's an investor. He has several ventures. So in multipreneurship, if you are creative, you know, you like launching ventures. I know you do. Like I realize I love launching new things and I have energy for that. So you can launch, but there is different processes how to do that. But you can actually launch several ventures, more ventures. It's just, we can do it because of technology, to be honest.
right.
Yeah.
So let's take it very simple. Let's talk about my team. Okay. Because for me it's super important. Thank God reached the point where it's not only about me, not like it was ever, but I really want my team to be. I have mere young,
They're more Gen Z.
creative.
Yeah?
I have an older generation because of the wisdom, and then people that support me, who is doing this podcast. They're young, very enthusiastic, great girls mainly. We're hiring guys also one day, but for now I don't know what. How could they? Let's say my project manager, Maria, she's my ambassador. How could she have multiple identities?
I'm sure she already has. You know, it's interesting when and I'll get to that.
Yeah.
In Qatar, like at the summit, we discussed like that. Everybody was talking about that the job market is changing, and especially the Gen Z is so different than like my generation, millennials, right, or older generations. And today I was reading an article, I think on Bloomberg, I forgot, but it was saying that Gen Z, they are not like, we cannot motivate them just by a 9-to-5 job in corporations. So they're now choosing corporate paths less than my generation used to, you know. So I think this is the signal that everybody should start adapting for this new generation, because they have different values. Like they would not be, they will more think about themselves, which is great, but their mental health, like work-life balance, right? And whether they like it or not, right? For specific task, what they're doing. So what I noticed, to be honest, they're actually doing a lot of things. Even now, I also hired a Gen Z, and she's helping me with the video, but also she's a script writer, and she creates scripts for the theater, and also she's studying. So I think they are already, and I think this is the future. I have this feeling that the future of work perhaps would be like that, like developing, building a portfolio career and having different, some people say hustles, but I'm sure
it's not a real,
I don't even have to teach your team, because I think they're already doing it.
You're right. I've never thought about it. Let's take Maria. She can even write the radio advertising now. I'm surprised. She creates through editing of podcasts. She created one time a song. So yes, and then I have Arena, the girls who from the beginning of this podcast. She's gonna create what's the word, the illustrations for my book. So she's gonna be a book illustrator, but also she's a video editor.
Wow,
and my right hand, she's an entrepreneur with her own Italian restaurants, but she's also my executive assistant. You're right. And I could talk like that about every team member. You're absolutely right. They are like that already.
Nina, also, have you noticed that now, especially in the creator economy, now, like we were talking how we could collaborate, right? Like it's this different entrepreneurs, like now the people I collaborate with, they have their own businesses. You know, I have my own businesses, but we can team up for certain projects, you know? So not like for lifetime, you know, but like team up for a certain project. We can, with that, realize so many different things. And I think this is what I see the trend in Gen Z. They're joining some projects, but then at the same time, navigating like several hustles or projects at the same time.
The only concern, I have only one concern with this. And we had experience with my team before. Sometimes for people difficult to focus. So
Yeah.
there are some that trying to do everything at the end, their professionalism and is questionable.
This is what our generation
Yeah.
are saying
Or
about
we
Gen
are-
Z.
Yes, it's questionable.
I agree with you. I don't know. I cannot comment. How to say it, assess. Whether the
It's individual, I would say
individual.
also.
But even with portfolio, they still recommend it to, if you're younger, like just graduated from college, still focus and have some hard skills, in your arsenal, like have focus and get some deeper expertise in one field. And then switching to portfolio like speaker, investor, and you can build up that a bit later in your career
Interesting.
when you build up your assets,
So you have that foundation, your expertise,
Yes.
and then you
Yeah.
build from that.
I think, yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so number one is skills, we've discussed. Number two is diversify your career. And it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're an employee, right? You could still look at yourself, look at your professional identities and see what you could do. And most probably, a lot of us already got into the gesture that you need to be flexible and you need to have multiple careers. Now, the third thing I want to talk to you about is financially, preparing financially in terms of your field of expertise, where we've met actually the first time before COVID.
In e-learning.
I want to discuss where we've met, the area of your expertise, e-learning. We've met before 2020 in 2019, I think, right? To create an online course for people to learn how to do brand strategy. And that was the idea for us to monetize the expertise that we have, to monetize it. Okay. So financially, experts or financial people, how could they monetize their knowledge?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I really like this phrase called productizing yourself and
Productizing
yourself.
Very interesting.
And there are two things. Like one is really like this book, Startup of You. So by Reid Hoffman, when you look at yourself as a startup, at yourself.
I like the word because it makes me feel young.
Exactly.
I'm just this startup with 20
Yeah.
years of experience.
Exactly. But yeah. So
Yeah.
you look at yourself as a startup. And
Startup.
second is this idea by Naval Ravikant. I heard from him for the first time. And he talks about this idea of productizing yourself.
Productize.
So basically you use your specific knowledge. It's like where your expertise is, and you think of different ways how you can create products out of it. So in my case, I shared with you, like recently I created a course. I mean, of course, I've been working on it for quite some time, but in one day, and again, with the help of new technologies, I was able to create a program in one day. So it's
Incredible. It took us 1 year to remember.
it usually takes a lot of time, but it's a bit different format.
And it's a
but
different world now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
even
so
within
much-
that period.
it's so much
Yeah.
so much faster. So basically, if you're an expert with and I think a lot of people, it's also natural, like if we say teaching, right? Because now we're talking about e-learning. It's natural for us to pass our knowledge to new generation, right? Like it's how we society
Yeah.
evolved. We were
Yeah.
passing our knowledge to the next generation. So everybody, in my experience, have this feeling inside that they want to teach. You told me that you love teaching, right? It gives
I
you
do.
this, you
From the day one I was born,
you love
I think.
it.
Yes,
Exactly. It's because it's this sacred even,
Yes.
act of passing your knowledge and expertise. So in this regard, it's basically thinking of different formats, how you can transfer your knowledge. And now again, with technology, you can do it even with zero investment. I mean, sometimes you can invest, but sometimes you can do it even, you can launch a course and then teach on Zoom, which is also fine, right? So now you can do it very fast. And so basically it's about taking your knowledge and then transferring it into different types of products. And products could be like
Yeah, what could
podcast,
be?
like knowledge products. Podcast is a
Podcast.
knowledge product
Okay.
because it can also, I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to, but it can also generate revenue if you would want to, right? And
Yeah.
but still you can leverage it. It's a great platform. Online course. In online course, there's so many different types. You can launch courses on Udemy, like pre-recorded. You can launch cohort-based learning, like platform Maven. This is what my favorite. So you launch courses live, in one time. You're teaching them, not like pre-recorded, but actually live cohort-based learning. So you have a group of students, and then you work with them during like one month or 2 months, whatever what the time frame you pick. So it's also it's just like so many, like you can create guidebooks, you can publish books, you can be a self-published. Like Nina, during my travels, I met entrepreneurs who are they were having they had their own agencies, but also they self-published authors. So many of them.
I'm trying to get into that space for the last 2 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I think I need to work more on that.
I think you definitely can do that.
Yeah.
So it's just packaging your knowledge and expertise into different formats that
Different
work for
format.
you.
And I think this is really here also the golden nugget is that it's not just, I have my knowledge and whom can I, it's think about what is more comfortable for you. You're right. What format is more comfortable? And then can I say from my experience, do
Yeah.
not expect millions right after you create. It's
Yeah.
time. It takes
Like
time.
with any
Yeah.
business.
Like
Yeah,
with any business. Where we think that you can become famous overnight. It could be possible, but how sustainable that is and how real that is.
Yeah. And Nina, like when I interned at Udemy, I remember we were studying different markets like Brazil, Germany, where what kind of content and format is popular. And I met some online course creators who made millions. But of course, this is more of an exception, right? It also took them some like 8 years, and then they again, I think according to this circle, they just got this, how to say, when everything aligned and you create a product that like, wow, everybody wants. So I think you need to understand it will take time. Sometimes you can become a millionaire just teaching online courses, but it's in general it takes time, but it pays off, in the long run.
I think maybe another skill that we could add to our discussion before is patience.
Patient, oh, for sure, yeah.
Which in a lot of us, I'm sure.
Here they say sabr, like the word sabr, which is like be patient, and then it will come.
I think I'm ready for the future.
Wow.
No, I feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah. Oh.
So now I'm thinking, okay, AI will come. It's fine. We'll prepare. We'll learn. We'll look. We're open-minded. Yeah. Sort of have multiple identities. Sounds a little bit crazy. So that's great. And still, I'm sure the knowledge and monetization and productizing myself, and it's a great thing, has a lot of potential with all the education, e-learning, growing the market, right? There is still space there to experiment and to enter. Correct?
Yeah, that's for sure. Experimenting is very important, and not being able to test, to test and try things out.
Beautiful. I always ask these 3 questions, all my guests, and I'd like to ask you these questions also. I know you're more business trainer and now in consultant, but you're also entrepreneur. And you were entrepreneur with your startup and so on. What do you think? So 3 questions. What do I need to do regularly, all the time to become a successful entrepreneur or to be a successful entrepreneur? Number 2 is what I should stay away from. And number 3, don't be afraid of to become successful, good businesswoman. Entrepreneur.
So the first one was
do regularly.
do regularly. I think it's I really liked what Peter Drucker said, that in this knowledge economy, you need to be your own CEO and know yourself. So I think for me, it's understanding, how my brain works, how my body works, what is my, like what is the biology of me, like wholly. I think this is what was very important. So and this helps you to create a process. So create a certain routine that works for you. Like for me, I prepare in the morning every day. Like I take 1.5 hours, I exercise. I have a certain routine I do every day. So it helps me to prepare my brain to be focused and productive.
What do you do just if it's...
I usually exercise. I do running or I do yoga, Ashtanga yoga. I try to meditate, not always, but I try to. And also I'm right now taking some jazz classes, like singing.
in the morning?
No, but I do some
yeah.
techniques to prepare. It helps me to get into the right kind of mode. So, reading and writing some gratitude journals. So basically, like visualizing your day, so it helps me get prepared. So I think knowing yourself. I know it sounds cliche, but knowing on different levels. What is your psychology is like what your mental state, like everything. How you best operate, what inspires you, right? So secondly was what to stay away from.
Yeah, stay away from.
I know we do compare ourselves with others, and this is how we work, but I think it's important to not to compare yourself too much with other people, because we don't know. Like people look at the Instagram, they see other people, and then they feel bad, and then it kind of stops them. That's what I figured with talking with so many people. So not comparing, taking your time. I really like how it is in the Middle East. You take your time. Like you don't rush. Oh, let's just. Give yourself some time. It will all connect. And the world, it works in a way that there is this serendipity, and like all the best things happen just randomly. The world is very random, right? And you cannot plan everything, and but just being open for the serendipity moments, to meet people, to get a book and start reading about it. So don't compare, and just explore and focus on yourself. I think that's helping me. I'm trying. And the third,
don't be afraid of
what's not be afraid of change. And of change, I mean in all ways, of change of mindsets, now you think this is the right way, because with age we become very we just stick to certain things. It's difficult to change with age. That's how our brain works as well. So you will be like the most successful people I met, to be honest, they're very curious, and they're changing all the time, constantly. Now they're learning about Web3. Tomorrow they're learning about something else. So I think that's not being able to change, which means to be open to new things, and to be open to explore the world,
our crazy, exciting world.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. What a serendipity moment I had today. I really enjoyed it gave me so much peaceful.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, great energy. Now I honestly I feel so calm now.
Oh really?
Yeah, I feel
I don't know if it's good or bad.
No, it's great. I think it's great. Sometimes, like I said, you can go off the path and get worried and stressed, but it's not that bad. There's hope. Skills, mindsets, hope, great people like you are like my guest. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for having me.
Давай вот так сделаем. Тик.
Как? Давай.
Yes. And I think for all my clients, I'm going to say is that when you look at the culture, my favorite values and so on, right? Think about your people, what the company means for them, and really as an identity. How could they, through you, I believe in that always anyway, how they can do self-realization, how could you through your company prepare them for the future? No, I think it was so good, right? I think it's that's it. I can't wait to start creating things.
Ты расслаблена, я это чувствую.
Нет.
Нет?